Good morning, everyone. I will call the Board of Examiners meeting to order. Secretary of State is present here in Carson City. The Attorney General is present in Las Vegas. We'll move to agenda item number 2, public comment. Is there any member of the public present in Carson City that would like to provide public comment to the board? I hear and see no one. Is there anyone present in Las Vegas that would like to provide public comment to the board?
No one here, Governor.
Thank you. Agenda item number 3, approval of the April 10, 2018 minutes. Have the members had an opportunity to review the minutes, and are there any changes?
I have, and I have no changes. I'll move to approve.
Secretary of State has moved to approve the April 10, 2018 meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by the Attorney General. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-0. We'll move to agenda item number 4, authorization to contract with a current and/or former state employee. Good morning, Mr. Wells.
Good morning, Governor and members of the board. Item 4 includes 3 requests to contract with current and/or former employees pursuant to NRS 333.705 subsection 1. The first 2 requests are from the Department of Transportation to allow contracted vendors to use former employees on projects that have been awarded to the vendor. The first request is for an assistant resident engineer position for the State Route 160 Phase 2 widening project in District 1, and that employee retired in March of 2017. The second is for a tester position to augment construction crew 926 in District 1, and that employee retired in February of 2018. And neither of those employees had any influence or authority over the contracts with the vendor. The third request is from the Department of Public Safety, Office of Traffic Safety, to contract with a former employee to provide certified motorcycle safety instructor training services, which require special certification. And this employee retired in October of 2017. And representatives from the department are available to answer any questions board members may have.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. I have no questions. Any questions, board members, on agenda item number 4?
No, Governor. I move to approve.
Attorney General has moved to approve the authorizations to contract with a current and/or former state employee as presented in agenda item number 4. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Governor.
Second by the Secretary of State. Any questions or discussion on the motion? I hear none. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Excuse me.
Motion passes 3-0. Just looking at number C, it's kind of neat to retire and do motorcycles. That's a good way to go. All right, let's move to agenda item number 5, request for the allocation and disbursement of funds for salary adjustments. Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Governor. Sections 4, 5, 6, and 7 of Assembly Bill 517 and sections 2, 3, 4, and 5 of Senate Bill 368 from the 2017 legislative session appropriated salary adjustment funds to the Board of Examiners to cover vacancy salary savings which are built into agency budgets, as well as the 3% cost of living adjustment that went into effect on July 1st of 2017, as these costs were not included in agency salary budgets. An agency whose actual salaries exceed their budgeted amounts due to the vacancy savings or the cost of living adjustments are allowed to request salary adjustment dollars from the Board of Examiners. This item represents the first request to access those funds by the Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs Museums and History Administration account to cover the cost of living adjustments in the amount of $2,579 in general funds. And there are representatives from the agency available to answer questions board members may have.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. I have no questions, but I understand this is the first of many. Next month will be a little busier, but this is very straightforward for me. Any questions from board members?
I have none. Move for approval.
Secretary of State has moved to approve the request for the allocation and disbursement of funds for salary adjustments as presented in agenda item number 5. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by the Attorney General. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Hear none. All in favor say aye.
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 That motion passes 3-0. We'll move to agenda item number 6, request for approval to join or use other government's contract. Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Governor. Item 6 is a request to join or use other government's contracts. NAC 332.175 allows the state to participate in multi-state contracts as long as the contract is awarded by competitive selection in a manner that substantially complies with NRS chapters 332 or 333. This request is from the Department of Motor Vehicles seeking to approval to join a multi-state award under the State of Kentucky Division of Motor Carriers to provide access to an existing fully operational international fuel tax agreement system. And the work order for this service is $283,914 and is through December 31st of 2018. And there are representatives available from the department to answer any questions the board members may have.
I have no questions. The materials contained in the binder answered any questions that I would have. Board members, any questions with regard to agenda item number 6?
I have none. I'll move for approval.
Secretary of State has moved to approve the request for approval to join or use other government's contract by the Department of Motor Vehicles in the sum of $283,913.64. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by the Attorney General. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Hear none, all in favor say aye.
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 That motion passes 3-0. Okay, we're on a roll here. We may set a record for a BOE meeting. Who's going to mess it up? We'll move to agenda item number 7, approval of proposed leases. Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Governor. There are 2 leases in agenda item 7 for approval by the board this morning. No additional information has been requested by any of the members.
Does that go into the minutes, what I just said? All right. All right. I'm pretty punchy today. So I have no questions on agenda item number 7 with regard to leases. Board members.
I have none, Governor, and I'll move for approval of proposed leases under item number 7.
The Secretary of State has moved to approve the leases presented in agenda item number 7. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by the Attorney General. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. That motion passes 3-0. We'll move on to agenda item number 8. Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Governor. There are 25 contracts in agenda item number 8 for approval by the board this morning, and members have requested additional information on contract number 3 between the Office of the Attorney General and APRIS, Inc., number 5 between the Department of Administration, Public Works Division, and WOW Cleaning Corporation, and number 14 between the Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Child and Family Services, and Multi-Health Systems, Inc.
Thank you. Mr. Wells, we'll begin with contract number 3.
Good morning, Governor and members of the board. My name is Nicole Banyan. I am the Ombudsman for Domestic Violence at the Attorney General's Office. I also have Christian Schonlau, our Chief Financial Officer, for any financial questions you may have about this item. The contract before you today extends the length and dollar amount of the contract with APRIS, our state Vine service provider. Vine provides notifications via text, email, or phone on offender custody status to registered victims. The services are available in both English and Spanish. Vine helps protect Nevada citizens from further victimization by notifying them of offender custody status changes in location, transitioning to parole, or exiting the system. Vine also notifies victims of court dates so they can participate in the judicial process. Our most recent enhancement of this program added links to regional service providers so that all victims of crime have resources even while the offender is not under supervision. Last calendar year, the Vine system was searched approximately 840,000 times, which is an increase of approximately 75% from the prior year. Notifications to victims also increased by approximately 71% over the same time period, sending over 80,000 notifications on offender status. The Attorney General's Office continues to advocate this service to the public to ensure victims of crime have resources available to protect them from violent criminals. We are happy to answer any questions you may have about this item. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A very thorough presentation and excellent work. I'm going
Great.
to love to see that growth, so that's fabulous.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from board members?
Governor?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to compliment the office for making our state, the state that was the pilot program for this new expansion that actually took this program onto smartphones and created an app. There's certainly a direct correlation between us being picked as the pilot state and all of the increased usage across Nevada to be able to help victims. So great job to the team, and we're glad this program is working so well.
Any other questions or comments?
None, I'll move for approval. Oh, we're going to do all of them, okay, all right. Do you get approval on this one?
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move to contract number 5. I suppose, Mr. Cates, you're going to present on that, and it's really not about the contract, as you know. It's just what we're looking for is an update on the Grant Sawyer building and its condition.
Oh, there we go. There was another light on. I got confused. Sorry. Good morning, Governor, members of the committee. For the record, Patrick Cates, Department of Administration. Before I give you an update on where things are at Grant Sawyer Building, I want to introduce Ward Patrick. Ward is the new administrator for the State Public Works Division. Chris Schimmitz retired last Friday. Ward has over 2 decades of experience with the Public Works Division, a very skilled project manager, and knows an awful lot about particularly the public works side of the house, but really the whole agency. As far as Grant Sawyer goes, he is day 2 on the job and quickly getting up to speed to a topic he hadn't previously been directly involved in. He's bringing fresh eyes to the issues and the problems and see what types of solutions we can come up with that maybe we didn't think of before. As far as the update for the Grant Sawyer building, this contract with WOW Cleaning is part of the protocol recommended by Dr. Craner in his report. This is for the cleaning of the carpets, which is intended to, it's a hot water extraction that's intended to remove any mold, particles, or residue that are in the carpet. That work will commence, I thought I had that date, I'm sorry. When does that work? I apologize. Oh, that's right, on the 18th, yeah, on May 18th, and is expected to be completed on July 2nd. All of that work will occur on the weekends when staff are not in the building. There will be instructions sent out to every section as it's cleaned over a succession of weekends about how to prepare for that, basically picking up the stuff off of hard surfaces and putting them in boxes. The carpets will be cleaned, porous surfaces will be wiped down to try to remove any potential contaminants of mold throughout all the offices in the building. In addition to that, I know there have been some discussions, I think it was brought up at the last Board of Examiners, about ceiling tiles and replacing ceiling tiles. I can tell you that I understand in the next couple of days, every stained ceiling tile will be removed and replaced. And we are looking at options to replace all of the ceiling tiles. That was not recommended by Dr. Craner. He had some concerns about doing that and what impact it may have on his testing, because his protocol after this cleaning is done is to come back and do further testing in the fall for any evidence of mold to see if we've changed anything. Regardless of that, we're trying to be responsive to the people in the building, and to replace all of the tiles in the building, that's roughly $1 million estimate. So we're looking at scenarios of maybe we just replace them in the offices of the Secretary of State and the Attorney General initially. We're working up some different options of how we could approach that. We certainly do not have $1 million in the current budget that we could pull out to do that. Discussion about carpet, same thing. You're talking roughly $1 million to do the whole building, but we're looking at options just to do them in the 2 offices that we might be able to do in the short term. Beyond that, we are looking and preparing for CIP requests for the Grant Sawyer building for next biennium. The HVAC project that has been underway is complete. The system's been commissioned and it's operational. There are other components of the system that were planned to be replaced in a subsequent CIP. So we're looking at that, and we are also looking at anything else that we can do to address conditions in the building. For instance, what has been replaced as part of the HVAC project are the valves within the line sets for the HVAC system. Another part of the systems of the buildings that we've seen problems with are these cracked drains. The plumbing, we have found several spots where there are cracks. So we've been evaluating that. We've done some tests on parts of the system from the bathrooms, but there's a whole network of drains in the building. So we're looking at scenarios to address some of those in the next CIP as well. And that might be an appropriate time to replace all the carpet, all the ceiling tiles in one big CIP package. And if not, if there's something that we can address in the short term before that's done, we're exploring that, but it may require more funding than we currently have available. I guess I would just briefly also mention that we do have, I'm not sure the last count, but over a dozen people that have workers' comp claims. My understanding is with Dr. Craner's report coming out that those people have been reevaluated by workers' comp, and because of the findings of Dr. Craner, they're reopening those claims and to see how we can accommodate those people. And I know that I have people looking and asking around for temporary office space where some of those people might be able to be housed temporarily until we can solve some of these problems, as well as pursuing some options to move out agencies if they need to do that. But again, we haven't identified funding for that. That's why I have Patrick working on a host of options that we can bring to you, Governor, and the two agencies most affected by this to figure out the best path forward. That's my update.
Thank you, Mr. Cates. Questions or comments, Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Governor. First, Mr. Cates, I just want to thank you and your team. You've been very responsive, and we really appreciate, the Secretary of State's office really appreciates working with you, and we look forward to working with you. So thank you for that. We still have a lot of concerns, as you know. Some of the things, I won't go into all the details, but some of the things that have been happening in our office that continue to plague our office, so to speak, and that are issues. We still have a real problem with just cleaning and not actually removing the carpet. It was my understanding that there is carpet there. They just couldn't pay for the installation of it. Is that carpet too old now? This was how I got my reception area redone in the office, was they said they had the carpeting, the squares, to do the entire building, but they never had the money to pay to have the labor to have it done. So I'm just curious about that, if you could comment on that. That's one of the issues. And then I have a few more, Governor, if that's okay. Go ahead and turn it on. Thank you.
I'm going to ask Ron Cothran. He's the Deputy Administrator for the B&G side of Public Works.
Okay.
I'll let him answer that question.
Thank you, Ron.
Good morning. Ron Cothran, for the record, Deputy Administrator of Buildings and Grounds. Initially, there was some carpet that was purchased for the Grand Sawyer as well as other buildings as needed. Some of that was installed at the Grand Sawyer. Other was installed in other buildings throughout the state. And there's a very limited supply now at this point of carpet that's left over.
Okay. Because it's my understanding that that carpet hasn't been replaced since the original installation of the building, correct? Okay.
That is correct.
Thank you. I know that you're going to start work on the 18th, and I am concerned because I do have employees that are having issues, health issues, and I'm concerned that you're asking us to stay there and wait. That is a big concern for me with some of the things that are going on with some of the employees. And again, I don't want to go into details because of confidentiality issues. Of the dozen complaints, I know that there's some from our office and the AG's office that have health issues. The plumbing cracks, the things that you're talking about, we have had the drainage when they flushed back that came pouring into the offices. So we are concerned about those offices that had those leaks just recently. So I just want to say that I don't know that us spending $80,000 to do a steam cleaning is going to be money well spent. That's just my feeling. But I would like us to venture into looking at other possibilities, because I just don't have a concern about the people that have gone to the doctors. I have other employees in there, and I'm concerned about all of them and all of the health issues that could be created or something that could happen. Again, like I said, that leak, I don't think anybody expected that to happen. So I have a large staff down there, and we want to accommodate everybody, but I would really like to work with you to see if we can do something about relocation with the office and the employees until such time that the work is all completed. But we've had some issues with odors from work that's been done that have affected some of the employees. So I know we found out through somebody calling and finding out that there was welding going on and it came through the vents. So if we can be mindful of all of those issues working well, and I know that it's hard to get them to work just later in the evenings, but if you're working during the hours that my employees are, it's really a difficult situation. And there's some other things I can talk to you about later that I won't go into detail now, but thank you, Governor, for allowing me that time to discuss this, because it is a concern with the employees there, and the fact that you're reopening some of the cases, and then the comments from the doctors. There's 2 different doctors that have talked to my staff, and based on their comments, it gives me reason for concern. So thank you again for working with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Governor.
Any other questions or comments on contract number 5?
Yes, Governor. Mr. Cates, so I just want to at least make the record clear that, well, I should start with, you guys have been very responsive, and I appreciate you working very diligently with my staff over the last many weeks and months. We still believe that ultimately we'll need carpet replaced as well as these tiles. I understand that you've made the decision to move forward with the carpet cleaning, and then I guess you represented today, replace some tiles that are showing particular stains. All I would ask is that we are prepared with the next set of solutions in the event that this doesn't happen. I understand we've maybe started talking about this a little bit with you as an office, but whether it's starting to submit bids and starting to be prepared to find an alternative solution and make sure that we're in a situation where we can get to the most immediate BOE agenda and any other steps that are required to move forward with a different plan. I don't want us to wait for the carpet to be cleaned, testing, another 45 to 60 days to then find out that it didn't work, and then we sort of start the process of figuring out what plan B is. So that's my only request, is that, obviously you guys have made the call, and we'll abide by that, but we hope that you'll continue, and I gather Mr. Patrick will be in charge of this for the coming weeks, so I just hope that you'll start churning on what will be the second wave of solution if this first one doesn't work. Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, Patrick Cates. Thank you for those comments. We hear you loud and clear, sir. We are working on options for what comes next and different levels and ways that we can mitigate this in the short and the long term. Just not prepared to provide all those details to you today, but we get the urgency of this. We'll be coming forward with some plans for the short term to help you and your staff through this, including relocation if that's what it takes. But as I said, Ward Patrick is day 2 on the job, and we've been having a lot of conversations about how to approach this.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other concluding comments, Mr. Cates?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. We'll move to contract number 14, DHHS Juvenile Justice Services. Mr. Armstrong, good morning.
Good morning. Ross Armstrong, Interim Administrator for the Division of Child and Family Services. And down in the south, we have our Deputy Administrator for Juvenile Justice, Mr. Munoz, and he'll be introducing this contract, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Good morning, Mr. Munoz. Please proceed.
Good morning, Governor and board members. My name is John Munoz, for the record, Deputy Administrator for DCFS Juvenile Services. I am here to present this contract pursuant to AB 472, our Juvenile Justice Reform Bill. This is a sole source contract with Multi-Health Systems, Inc. for the use of the Youth Level of Service, or YLS, as a case management inventory risk assessment tool. The Juvenile Justice Oversight Commission reviewed several risk needs assessments and ultimately decided on the YLS. Multi-Health Systems, Inc. is the developer and only company that sells this tool. This is for a 2-year contract that includes 250 training kits for unlimited use of the YLS for county juvenile probation departments, county camps, state correctional facilities, and state youth parole. This contract also pays for training, policy, and procedure development. Thank you, and I will answer any questions.
All right, thank you. And can you kind of put this in outside of, or just what is this going to do? What, you know, in the real world, how will this be utilized?
Yes, sir. So basically what YLS does is it's a risk assessment and case management system all in one. So it's all inclusive. What we do is we measure prior and current offenses and dispositions, education and employment, substance abuse, personality and behavior, family circumstances and parenting, peer relations, leisure and recreation, attitudes and orientation. What we do is we take a score from each one of those domains, we add them up, and if it's a low score, for example, we will probably refer to a diversion program. If it's a moderate risk score, we'll probably refer to an informal supervision or consent decree. If it's a high risk that the youth presents at that current moment in time, they'll probably seek some kind of formal probation supervision. If it's a very high risk level that the score indicates, they'll probably seek a placement in a county camp or in a state correctional facility. And we use those scores to drive case management for their needs, barriers, incentives, and it will help us match the service matching that we're looking for to help the young person, whether it's a male or a female. And those scores will differ from males to females. But what's good about this particular tool is that it measures the youth at the current setting that they're in. So if they're living at home and in the community, there's a tool for that. If they're in custody in a detention or correctional facility, it measures them in that facility as well. So it's a very useful tool. It's been validated in several different areas throughout the country, and we feel it's our best hope for driving case management, service matching, and getting the rehabilitation that we're looking for.
So thank you, Mr. Munoz. You hit it exactly what I was looking for, because I don't think we can overemphasize, at least in the universe of juvenile justice, how important this is going to be, and to ensure that the young offenders are properly categorized so that they're not either put in too strenuous of a program, or one that is not strenuous enough, and they're getting the proper services and resources that they need. So this is something that is a product of the Juvenile Justice Oversight Committee and legislation from last session, and I just want to thank you, because I really do believe, and I've said it before, that this is going to change lives, and it's going to improve our juvenile justice system. And hopefully, as time moves on, there'll be a lot of offenders who aren't going to continue to offend because of this tool, and be put on a path for success and prosperity. So again, as I said, I really wanted to make sure that this a record was made with regard to this, because this is a very important piece in terms of what happened with AB 72 and the juvenile justice oversight. So, Mr. Armstrong, I don't know if you wanted that cleanup and provide any more detail.
Ross Armstrong for the record. I think you hit it just right. It's important whenever we're talking about the juvenile justice system that we distinguish it from the adult justice system, where basically the crime you've committed helps dictate what's going to happen to you in the adult system. And so this helps us really transform the juvenile justice system, so we're not just looking at what crime brought that kid to us, but taking a look at all of their different factors and then moving forward with the best plan of attack from there. We know currently that 3 out of the 4 youth that make it to the deep end of our juvenile justice system are able to avoid ending up in the Department of Corrections. We'd like to make that 4 out of 5 and then 5 out of 6 and get that further on down. So, if investments in our juvenile justice system can help reduce costs on the adult system side and prevent the creation of more victims in the future, then we're doing a great job. This will be key to that.
And will this, Mr. Armstrong or Mr. Munoz, will it also measure where they are in terms of their educational proficiency, their reading proficiency, so that, if they're not at grade level, they're not suddenly put in a class that's beyond what they're capable of, so that they don't get frustrated in that regard as well?
Ross Armstrong, one of the 8 factors that is part of it is the education and employment ability or risk and needs. And so while the education system will still have their tools for determining where a kid is grade level wise or where they need to be, this will at least help identify that risk for that education and employment success. So if we have a kid that's at risk, we can up those education interventions and pull them along.
Wonderful, thank you. Those are all the questions I have. Board members, any other questions? Okay. Madam Secretary, you have comments?
Well, I was going to save it for after we made a motion, but I can say it now. Just on contract 5, I don't really believe that the money is being well spent on our floor for us, but I will go ahead and make the motion to approve all of them together, all the contracts in number 8, all 25. But I do have concerns about us spending that type of money without replacing the carpet. But if it helps in some of the other floors and what they're doing to the building and as a whole, I understand that, and therefore will support it, but am concerned about us spending that kind of money without replacing the carpet.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Armstrong, I thought you had a
Oh, I'm
comment on
sorry.
this one,
No,
but
no.
I have no further questions or comments.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Munoz and Mr. Armstrong.
I'm sorry, I thought you had already dismissed them. I apologize for that, but I just wanted to make sure before we made but thank you, that was a good.
That's all the contracts I have, at least on my list, to be held. Are there any questions or comments by board members on agenda item number 8?
I move to approve, Governor.
Attorney General has moved to approve the contracts presented in agenda item number 8. Is there a second?
And I'll second it with knowing that my comments will be put on for 5. Thank you.
And thank you, Madam Secretary. The Secretary of State has seconded the motion, but for purposes of the record, if whoever's recording the minutes will incorporate her comments as part of her second on the motion. Any further question or discussion on the motion? Hear none, all in favor say aye.
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 That motion passes 3-0. We'll move on to contract number 9, approval of work plans. Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Governor. There are 2 work plans for approval by the board this morning, and no additional information has been requested by the members.
Board members, any questions on agenda item number 9?
I have none, Governor, and I'll move for approval of number 9 of the work plans.
Secretary of State has moved to approve the work plans presented in agenda item number 9. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by the Attorney General. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Hear none, all in favor say aye.
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 That motion passes 3-0. We'll move on to agenda item number 10, proposed master service agreements. Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Governor. There are 5 master service agreements in Agenda Item 10 for approval by the board this morning, and no additional information was requested by any of the members.
Board members, any questions on agenda item number 10?
None, Governor. Will move for approval of proposed master service agreements on number 10.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. The Secretary has moved to approve the proposed master service agreements in agenda item number 10. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by the Attorney General. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Hear none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes 3-0. We'll move on to agenda item number 12, or 11, excuse me, information item. Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Governor. There were 58 contracts under the $50,000 threshold approved by the clerk between March 19th and April 16th of 2018. This item is informational only, and no additional information was requested by any of the members.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Any questions, board members, on agenda item number 11?
None. Move for approval, or the clerk approves it, or is this one?
Yeah, we don't
Okay,
need to take
all right, thank
action.
you.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 12, which is another, I think it's a quarterly report on the certification of Complete Streets program contributions. Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Governor. Agenda item number 12 is an informational report from the Department of Motor Vehicles on the voluntary contributions that were collected by county pursuant to NRS 482.480, the Complete Streets program. This report covers the period of January 1st, 2018 to March 31st, 2018. And as you see, this program has become fairly stable from quarter to quarter now.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Board members, any questions on agenda item number 12? I hear none. We'll move on to agenda item number 13, public comment. Is there any member of the public present in Carson City that would like to provide public comment to the board? I hear and see none. Is there anyone present in Las Vegas that would like to provide public comment to the board?
I see none, Governor.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. We'll move to agenda item number 14. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move for adjournment.
Secretary of State has moved to adjourn. Is there a second?
I second.
Attorney General has seconded the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. And that motion passes 3-0. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.